You scroll past a photograph of your first birthday and realize that everyone else remembers the day except you. Someone can describe the cake. Someone can point out the people leaning toward you, the mess on the table, and the expression on your face. Yet the scene inside your head stays blank. How can a day belong to your life when your own memory offers no way back into it? That gap is not unusual. Adults rarely remember events from before age 3, and memories from ages 3 to 7 tend to arrive as scattered pieces rather than a steady record. The missing stretch has a name: infantile amnesia. It can make your earliest years feel like a room that existed before the lights came on. But the photograph raises a sharper question. Did your baby brain fail to make memories, or did something happen to those memories later? The blank does not necessarily mark a time when nothing was recorded. Your babyhood may have contained memories that formed, lasted for a while, and then became inaccessible or disappeared. Those possibilities sound similar from the far side of childhood because each leaves you unable to recount the event. But they describe very different stories inside your developing brain. Was the memory never placed into long-term storage? Did it remain somewhere without a route that your adult mind can use? Or was its network disrupted as your brain changed? The supplied evidence does not choose among those answers. It also does not establish how language, a developing sense of self, and changes in the hippocampus each contribute to infantile amnesia. That uncertainty matters. Your missing recollection cannot by itself reveal whether the original experience was never encoded or was encoded in a form that did not survive as an adult story. A brain scanning experiment brought that distinction closer. The March 2025 Science Brain Scanning Study examined 26 infants ranging from 4 months to 2 years old. Each baby saw an image, then saw that image again after a short delay. The researchers compared activity in the hippocampus when the image first appeared with how long the baby looked when it returned. Why focus on the hippocampus? The supplied evidence identifies it as the region involved in adult episodic memory, the kind tied to a specific event. Stronger hippocampal activity during the first appearance predicted longer looking during the repeat. That pattern provided evidence that the infant brain had encoded the individual image rather than meeting it as entirely new. The effect was strongest in babies older than 12 months. The strongest encoding activity appeared in the posterior hippocampus, the same part most associated with episodic memory in adults. That is a striking link. A region central to an adult's memory for particular events was already more active when a baby saw an image the baby later appeared to recognize. Does that mean a 1-year-old forms a complete autobiographical memory, like the account an adult might give? No. The experiment measured recognition of individual photographs after minutes, not a rich event carried across years. It could show that a simple experience was encoded over a short delay, but it could not show that the memory would remain available through childhood. A skeptical viewer could point out that longer looking is not the same as later telling a story. That objection is exactly right. The result links first view hippocampal activity with later recognition behavior. It does not turn the baby's response into an adult-style account of the earlier moment. The distinction becomes clearer when you separate kinds of memory. An infant brain can learn recurring patterns, and that pattern learning is different from remembering one particular event. A baby might take in regularities without later possessing a conscious scene that can be narrated. At the same time, the imaging results suggest that individual experiences can also engage the hippocampus. Babies' ability to retain information for longer periods improves progressively through childhood. So the mystery is not a clean switch between no memory and adult memory. It is a changing system in which different forms of learning and retention are developing on different paths. The evidence therefore shifts the question. Instead of asking only whether your baby brain could encode a simple experience, you can ask what happened after encoding. One possible part of that later story involves rapid production of new neurons in the young hippocampus. That process may contribute to early forgetting by disrupting existing memory networks. The word may is essential. The evidence identifies a possible mechanism, not a settled answer for every missing childhood event. Animal findings about latent memories and artificial reactivation also cannot establish that inaccessible infant memories persist into human adulthood. Nobody knows, from the supplied sources, whether your earliest memories failed to enter lasting storage, survived without an accessible route, or were disrupted as your brain developed. That uncertainty can feel less satisfying than a single cause, yet it protects an important difference between evidence and wishful reconstruction. A blank in adult recall is real, but the path that produced the blank remains unresolved. Here is the counterintuitive part. The same hippocampal region involved in adult episodic memory became more active when a baby saw an image the baby later appeared to recognize. Your inability to recount infancy does not require a baby brain incapable of registering an individual experience. The infant imaging results instead support the possibility that early memories were stored and later became inaccessible. Support is not proof. A response lasting minutes cannot reveal what survives for decades. Still, the finding changes the shape of the puzzle. The door to memory may have opened earlier than your first adult accessible recollection suggests, even if whatever passed through that door could not later be retrieved as a story. That twist reaches beyond babyhood. Even now, forgetting an experience does not necessarily mean your brain never registered it or learned from it. What you can consciously recount is only part of what your memory systems have taken in. You know this gap whenever a familiar image holds your attention before you can explain why, or whenever learning leaves a trace without giving you a neat episode to retell. The evidence here does not explain every adult lapse, but it does warn against treating conscious recall as the complete measure of memory. What counts as part of your past? Only what you can narrate, or also what changed your brain without leaving a story you can enter? Infantile amnesia makes that question impossible to ignore. Your earliest years helped form a life whose opening scenes remain largely unavailable to the person living it now. The first birthday image therefore stops being simple proof of absence. It still cannot give you the lost experience, and nobody else's account can turn it into your own recollection. But the blank beside it no longer has to mean that your baby brain saw nothing, stored nothing, or learned nothing. It marks a boundary between what happened, what may have been encoded, and what can be consciously reached today. That boundary is the real mystery. So when you scroll past that photograph of your first birthday again, the blank space may look less like nothing happened and more like something your brain once held in a way you can no longer reach.